What happens when one of the world's largest superpowers flexes its military might in the world's most contested waters? Could a few military drills spark the beginning of a global conflict, or is there a deeper, long-term strategy at play? Today we dive into China's military drills in the South China Sea, a region not only rich in resources but at the center of $3.4 trillion worth of annual trade flow. This isn't just a regional issue, it's a global power struggle, with far-reaching implications. What does this mean for international relations, global security, and future economic stability? Stick around as we break down this geopolitical chess game in a detailed case study. Let's start with understanding why the South China Sea matters. This isn't just a body of water, it's the most economically and strategically important maritime region in the world. Covering 3.5 million square kilometers, this area holds 30% of global maritime trade and is home to vast reserves of oil and natural gas, vital to the energy needs of countries like China, Vietnam, and the Philippines. But it's not just about economics. The South China Sea is the symbolic epicenter of the rivalry between the United States and China. For the US, the region represents freedom of navigation, a principle that underpins the global maritime order. For China, it's about asserting its sovereignty over disputed territories, backed by the controversial Nine-Line Claim, which covers nearly 90% of the South China Sea. These overlapping territorial claims have turned the region into a geopolitical powder keg. The question is, how does China's latest move fit into the bigger picture? Here's where things get interesting. Just after high-level talks between US and Chinese officials aimed at de-escalating tensions, China announces large-scale military drills in the South China Sea. What's behind the timing? Is this Beijing sending a clear message to Washington, signaling that while they're open to dialogue, they won't be dictated to? The US has been ramping up alliances in the Indo-Pacific through initiatives like AUKUS, Australia, UK, US Alliance, and the Quad, with Japan, India, and Australia, increasing naval exercises in the region. So China's decision to conduct drills right after talks may not just be a show of force, it's a calculated move in the game of great power politics. China's latest military drills are more than routine exercises. They involve some of their most advanced capabilities: J-20 stealth fighters, hypersonic missile systems, and the powerful Type 075 amphibious assault ships. This isn't just a display of power, it's a direct statement that China is fully prepared for a confrontation, should one arise. The presence of these amphibious assault ships, in particular, signals something bigger: China's growing ability to launch amphibious operations. Why does that matter? Because such capabilities are critical if China ever moves on its long-standing ambition to reunify with Taiwan, by force if necessary. It's not just about defense, it's about power projection, showing the world that China has the military reach to not only defend its territorial claims, but potentially expand them. The history behind this conflict stretches back decades. In 2016, an international tribunal in The Hague ruled against China's sweeping territorial claims, siding with the Philippines. But China rejected the ruling outright, continuing its aggressive policies of building artificial islands, airstrips, and deploying military assets across the region. For China, the South China Sea is a matter of historical rights, sovereignty, and national pride. For other nations, including the US, it's a matter of upholding international law and maintaining the balance of power in one of the most critical maritime routes in the world. This backdrop of historical tension is what makes China's military drills all the more alarming. As each side digs in its heels, the risk of miscalculation or accidental escalation grows ever larger. The real question is, what does all of this mean for the rest of the world? First and foremost, these drills heighten the risk of military conflict in the Asia-Pacific, which could destabilize the region's economy and lead to a dramatic rise in military spending among neighboring countries like Vietnam, Japan, and the Philippines. The more militarized this region becomes, the higher the chance of missteps that could spiral out of control. Second, any conflict in the South China Sea would have an immediate impact on global trade. As we mentioned earlier, $3.4 trillion in goods move through these waters annually. Even a brief disruption could lead to supply chain issues, increased oil prices, and ripple effects that impact markets around the world. But perhaps the biggest concern is how this fits into the larger US-China rivalry. As tensions mount, we could be witnessing the early stages of a new Cold War, one fought not just with military posturing, but with economic, technological, and diplomatic tools. So, what's the immediate impact? For the US, these drills signal that China will not back down from its territorial ambitions. Expect to see more freedom of navigation operations, or FONOPs, by the US Navy, and possibly even larger joint military exercises with regional allies. For China, the drills serve as a warning to both the US and neighboring countries. We control this region, and we're willing to use force if necessary. The broader impact is a further deterioration of US-China relations. With both sides unwilling to compromise, the region is becoming increasingly militarized, and the risk of an unintended conflict is rising. What do you think? Are we witnessing the dawn of a new Cold War between the US and China? Could the South China Sea become the spark that ignites a larger global conflict? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most critical geopolitical issues.